I love horror movies. As someone who has a form of chronic paranoia, it might seem strange that I would be a fan of films that are designed essentially to induce that kind of feeling. But there's always some major appreciation I feel to films of that genre. From the atmosphere of Halloween, the uncomfortably real feel of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the presence of Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, the paranoia of the entire scenario of The Thing, the absurdity and viscera of Evil Dead, this is a genre of film I've always loved. I don't think I've ever been made to feel a stronger emotion from a movie than the sheer dread and terror I felt when I first watched Hellraiser. Though I was also under 10 years old when I did that, so I probably should not have been watching it at that point in time. With all that said, Jason Voorhees vs. Michael Myers I'm sure people by now know is one of my most wanted matchups for a while. It's never been my most wanted. That for a long time now has been Destroyer vs. Iris, but it was among the episodes I wanted to happen the most. Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Friday the 13th, Halloween. All things I love, with their lows and their highs, and films I adore for being, well, really just generally good. Mostly kind of bad, admittedly, but having some genuinely terrifying moments in their films. Or being really, really dumb. Over the course of Death Battle's history, there have been very few matchups that have happened that I hold as closely to my heart as I do Jason Voorhees vs. Michael Myers. In fact, in order of the matchups Death Battle has done that I would consider among my most wanted and favorite matchups, it would just be Goku vs. Superman, Godzilla vs. Gamera, which is my favorite versus matchup of all time, to an extent, Hercule Satan vs. Danabiki, Sephiroth vs. Virgil, Roshi vs. Jiraiya, Madara vs. Aizen, and Saitama vs. Popeye, but in that one's case it's retroactively. As it stands, I intend to get a lot of the matchups and episodes that I really want, and I have come to accept that. I am just one person. For me to expect the matchups I truly and honestly love, Destroyer vs. Iris, Kenshiro vs. Saiga Rikyo, Amada Starsky vs. Gundam Epion, Beast Wars Megatron vs. Megabyte, Emiya vs. Hakumen if it wasn't Fate, Jinga Hagane vs. Dan Kuso, Ryuga vs. Tai Lung, I'm not memeing, Han Solo vs. Captain Kirk, Fina vs. Mash Curiolite, any of them, it feels arrogant of me to just feel like I should expect them. I don't. At all. And it also sets me up for failure, because if I have any expectations, I have the potential of disappointment, so I'd rather not come in with a lot of those. At the end of the day, Death Battle's matchup choices are going to strike a balance between what's relevant and gets views, and the interest of the people behind the show. I can't expect them to have the same interests as me, to have the same tastes, or the same experiences with the series that I have. Maybe they have matchups they prefer for certain characters I love matchups with. Maybe they just don't know characters that I love. But what this all means is that on the rare occasions that I do get a matchup that I love on Death Battle, I will do anything I can to love the episodes that come from them, no matter how bad they might end up being. And so far, of all my favorite matchups to have episodes, the worst of them is Roshi vs. Jiraiya, an episode that I really, really like. So I'm honestly batting a good enough record that I don't feel the need to complain. So with that extremely long, rambling prelude out of the way, what did I think of Jason Voorhees vs. Michael Myers? I am not going to sugarcoat it. I am very mixed. There are elements that I really love and elements that I don't. There are points I think could have been improved, and things that are small, but I appreciate it. So let's finally get on to the actual review. Starting with the analysis, or in this episode's case, the intro, I really like what they've done here. It's so charming. Wiz and Boomstick are around a campfire with Jocelyn, who doesn't care, Dummy, who doesn't want to be here, and Ringmaster, who's actually invested, to tell them about the characters. They also change up the catchphrases. Now, ignoring that Death Battle just ripped off not Death Battle with this stuff, because this is what we would do. Damn you, Ben Singer, what did I ever do to deserve Death Battle ripping me off? It's just really charming to me, and I appreciate it. I fucking love that Wiz just turns his arm into a flashlight too. Jason's analysis is good, though there are some small things that, about. The way they talk about the Hellworm, implying it's like a mystery as to if it's a thing, is weird to me, because like, it's a thing. It's objectively a thing. They also say the same thing about Uber Jason, where they're like, they say that this might exist, blah blah blah. And while I get that this is to go along with the whole camp story vibe, it feels like Wiz is the kind of guy to just say it outright without any real dramatic flair. I don't know how I feel about calling Leatherface supernatural either. I guess that might just depend on the continuity. However, that said, I do like the whole thing well enough. The teleportation argument is charming, not necessarily funny, but charming, and I think that needs to be clear. Something can be charming without having to be funny, and I constantly get people telling me that they have to be the same thing. No, I like the argument. Overall, I think it's just a decent analysis that covers the story of Jason well and feels right. Michael's analysis is similarly good. It doesn't have really any standout moments to me aside from the editing early on and the ending, though for both analyses there's some overarching pros and cons. For pros, I really like the cutaways in this episode. That is a cursed thing for me to say. They're not gags, they're character moments. I like Dummy debunking Wiz's entire fucking face. I like Jocelyn sort of being a know-it-all nerd with the rune thing. I like Ringmaster being overly enthusiastic over relevant things. Hell, I like that he's playing on the Nintendo Switch, but he's still paying attention to what's being said. Everyone disappearing one by one was predictable, but it was fitting, and I especially like Boomstick's response to Ringmaster vanishing. On the other hand, it feels a bit lacking to me in the versus department. Now, I know, I do tend to also complain when it's too much versus and not enough story. What's the matter, Nemesis? Isn't this what you want? I guess I should be clear, because maybe I never made this clear in the past. I think a good analysis, and my favourite ones, tend to blend in verses and story and character well. You don't want all verses, because then you give no real context to who the characters are and what their thing is. What makes them cool beyond just their functions. But you also don't want just all story either. You risk making it so fans of the series really get nothing out of it, but an out-of-order recap of events and classic death battle non-jokes. And there comes a point where, if someone's not interested in the characters, and you're not going to make them interested, if you don't give them the versus stuff, they might struggle to be able to predict who's going to win. And I get that's the point. It's meant to be like a question, who will win? But some people just like being able to pause after the analysis and really think about and sink in what they got, and like, you know, talk about who they think's going to win. Or no, maybe not talk about it. Not everyone's Riz Star and has people who will give a shit about watching what he thinks. But people like to think about it, you know, based on what the analysis, who's going to win. It can either give you the satisfaction of picking up the right things and guessing correctly, or the surprise and the satisfaction of learning you were wrong and this is why. Now, this episode technically gives you that, but it just doesn't feel like it gives you enough. It doesn't feel like it gives you everything you're going to need. Because, like, things you're immediately going to think about just aren't there. With that being said, I'm not too bothered by Jason vs. Michael. I should be clear, I'm not too bothered, but I would have appreciated going into depth on a few more things that might have been more relevant for a versus sense. For instance, in Jason's case, I think it covered things really well, but I would have liked to see a speed feat somewhere in there. And I think explaining the Hellworm would have been nice just to see how the hosts react to it. Especially though, I think more of Jason's frankly absurd feats of strength would have been cool. Jason is known not just for being super tough, but being extremely physically strong, so some of his more nonsensical strength feats would have been appreciated. On Michael's side, I think I would have liked seeing the Curse of Thorn explained more, beyond just making fun of the runic choice. I also would have liked the scan showing Michael was within the church explosion when they show it, because without it, we just see a church exploding and have to trust Death Battle's word on it. I know that most people are going to believe them, but there are going to be people who don't. Because Michael is not a character who tends to take that sort of punishment often. I as someone who knows the context of that scene, I get it. I also would have liked some more talk on Michael's speed, because from memory, he's someone that visibly looks faster than Jason. Now, does this ruin the analysis for me? No, not at all. I still really enjoyed myself and I had a good time. Of course, there's that classic, hey, it's those hosts I love from that show I love talking about things that I love bias coming in full swing, but that's unavoidable in this case. I like these analyses and I think they're fine. I can watch them and enjoy them. The fight, however, man, I am very disappointed, but I'm going to try to look past that disappointment and primarily focus on what we got and not just what I wanted. Because in the end, whenever I talk about what I want and it's something that's subjective and can't really be explained, I get people saying that I'm crying and bitching because I didn't get what I want. Because that definitely doesn't get old, and it's not at all a reductive argument that proves nothing beyond one's inability to understand subjectivity. The start of this fight, I think, is really solid. Panelist starts by motivating Jason with the classic blackest eyes, devil eyes from the original Halloween. That's a really cool reference, and I don't think it's intrusive at all. I think if you know nothing about Halloween, it feels so natural, and if you know about Halloween, it's like, hey, I know where that's from. I'm not so much a fan of the stock scream sound effect, that really took me out of it, but Jason is randomly chasing some woman, or so it seems, because later, we see a first-person shot that reveals Michael is actually the person this woman is running from. He kills her, and then vanishes the moment Jason shows up. This is cool. First-person reference is cool, Jason dragging a corpse in a sleeping bag is classic Jason, and I like the intentional mislead. I also really like this whole bit, though it's not perfect to me. Michael coming up from the darkness behind Jason is perfectly in line with Halloween and a cool reference. Now, I would have preferred if he slowly appeared, and then after appearing pulled up his knife to stab Jason. Maybe you could have his head tilt come in here, but I'm kind of putting that elsewhere. I just think it would have felt a lot creepier than him just lunging forward like a monster. I mean, I guess he is a monster, but Michael is a lot creepier than just big monster man smack. Jason suddenly turning his head has a very strange anime-esque feel to it as well, but it's not as weird as the whole following sequence. The action in this scene feels so misplaced. This does not carry the feel to me of Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers. Their attacks are too quick and they flow almost like they're martial artists. It doesn't carry to me the right vibe of these two behemoths who, despite how slowly they act, cannot be escaped. With these two, I love the unsettling juxtaposition of a slow man that's too fast to be escaped. I'm also not a fan of the camera work. It feels all over the place and very unfocused. And stuff like Jason slapping Michael with the corpse of whoever that is in theory really cool, but in practice a bit too quick and lacks any impact. The entire scuffle does not work for me, and I understand there are people who love the goofiness of the later Friday and Halloween movies, and this might fit in right for them. And, I'm glad they can enjoy that. But to me, as someone who adores the first Halloween and really finds the goofy ones to be the worst, aside from this one, which is just so stupid, I love it, and who loves Jason being a serious threat, who really, in the sillier Friday movies, I love Jason being a serious character surrounded by goofiness. But this does not work for me, as someone who loves the horror aspect more than the goofy aspect. I don't think goofiness is in the spirit of either character, even if it has happened within their own series, because to me, it's not fitting with the spirit of the character when it happens in their series. What I do like, though, is Michael stabbing Jason. This is incredibly janky in the best way possible. This feels like Michael. The awkward repeated stabbing of Jason and the fact that the first one doesn't work, and Jason tries to reach to crush Michael's head, but he keeps going just to stop him, leaving him pinned to a tree. I like that. I really like too, the knife is very visibly not deep enough to get far into Jason's body, let alone deep enough to actually connect to the tree. That is vintage Halloween, and I get that that's goofy, I know what I just said earlier, but that's a goofiness that in Halloween never took away from the atmosphere to me. Now I want you to meet the main character of this animation. Not Michael Myers, no, and not Jason Voorhees. Rather, this is Joe Victim. He is famously a man who made it his life's goal to take attention away from what you actually want to see. And unfortunately, this motherfucker is better at what he does than me because, my god, the majority of Jason Voorhees versus Michael Myers really is just this guy running away. His incredibly awkward expression does not help this at all because he takes away from any atmosphere this fight could have just by permanently looking like a drama mask. I also don't really like Michael's head tilt being combined with him turning to the side. I think a dedicated head tilt would have been better. The Jason hand twitch is nice though, and I'm not sure how I feel about Michael Myers' Mark 20 power walk, but it is funny. Michael then smacks Joe Victim full force in the back with a fire axe and accomplishes absolutely nothing. He groans a little and then runs on and isn't affected by this injury at all. Because that's what Michael is in the end, kind of incompetent at killing with an axe. Credit where it's due though, in this shot of Joe running, I really love that he runs past the tree that Jason was impaled on. But you can see the knife is just sticking into the trunk. Jason's gone. And the way it's framed makes it clear that Jason didn't pull the knife out of his body, he just got back up and walked off and slid the knife through his entire torso. That is the rawest thing that's ever happened off screen in a death battle. And no, I'm not joking, I'm being serious with that. Then Jason yanks him out of the car, and I feel like we got a really strange cut here. It feels like there's a whole bit missing of Jason raising the guy in the air or something. Michael stabs into Jason's back, and Jason spins around like a fucking ninja and swings at him. Like, that's another case of Jason being awkwardly fast for the character. I do like them still fighting in the background, and Joe here, despite being very good at what he does, is not particularly skilled in that whole common sense nonsense, because he hides in scenic right behind a tombstone a few feet away from the killers. And dies. Rest in peace, bro. We knew you far longer than we needed to. Then Michael swings at Jason, and Jason fucking catches the axe like Omni-Man. Now I'm aware, Jason has caught an axe before, but these are two very different characters in my eyes. In this scene, the character's kind of intimidating, because of how he does it. It's that sort of like, it's like a realistic catch that an actual person could do, like, oh shit, uh-oh. This, however, the way it's done looks like it's fucking an anime. The axe is perfectly perpendicular to the ground, and it looks so goofy. Then Jason clears through his own face to lightly toss it to the side, spinning it 90 degrees in the air into a rock. Michael then proceeds to pick up a fucking tombstone out of the ground like it's nothing and shatter it on Jason, which is way more high impact than anything I've ever seen Michael do. Like, ironically, that's Jason Voorhees level brute force. Michael feels more like Jason than Jason does in this fight sometimes. The next bit I really like in concept, and in some ways in execution. Jason seeing the grave of Pamela and that pushing him to just get back up and kill Michael is a great idea. I really love the way the jack-o'-lantern changes from Bob Steve the Pumpkin Guy to Pamela's decapitated, rancid face. What I kind of wish though was that instead of there randomly being Pamela's actual grave here and some arsehole put a jack-o'-lantern next to it like, "Yeah, thanks for lighting up our life, giving birth to your deformed miscarriage of a child, bitch!" That instead it was just someone else's grave. Just some random other person, but during the flashes of lightning, when Pamela's talking to Jason, it changes into Pamela's grave. I think it would have felt more thematically fitting with someone like Jason. The zoom in on Jason's eye though, the only time we see his eyes in the fight, is fucking great. I love that I think it goes a long way to sort of show that at the end of the day, Jason is the less evil of these two. He's got a sliver of humanity, while Michael was barely human from the beginning. Jason actually fighting back is a bit weird. Jason goes from all fours with Michael's boot on his back about to go doggy style, to suddenly being slightly hunched over with Michael, I guess, close to dry humping him, and Jason just smacks him in the back of his head, which that would not happen from this previous pose. It's weird, I know they can teleport, but this doesn't feel like it was intentional. But Jason finally landing a solid blow with his machete was great. And despite how ungory this kill is, I do like a lot of it, though I'm not a fan of the copious amounts of green screen blood effects. Jason finally lands his first solid blow with the machete, and it's really meaty. Michael doesn't go down without a fight. He takes the knife and pounds it into Jason's head, which does visibly affect him. I would have preferred if his knife was like stabbed into the eye of Jason, but I'm not too fussed. Jason then grabs the axe from before and smashes Michael in the face a la Friday Part 3, and then does the thing Michael does, it decapitates him with the kitchen knife that he fucking wrenches from his own head. The fucking 3-weapon, 3-prong kill on Michael is so fitting. Now, I also noticed that he uses the wrong side of the knife, at least based on how he pulled it out, which I know wasn't an intentional reference to all the times that Jason killed people with the wrong side of his machete, because he's clearly holding it correctly in a moment, but I'm going to pretend that this is a reference to all the times Jason has just killed people with the back of his machete. Then he smashes Michael's goofy ass head into a tombstone, splitting it, which is unnecessary in the most Jason Voorhees of ways. It didn't have as much impact as I'd want, but it's so Jason. We then get a full 16-second long fucking shot of Jason just walking away that feels like it goes a little too long. So, I'm certainly mixed. Obviously, there are a lot of small problems, as I mentioned. That shot of it in the end goes a bit too long, the sudden changing of poses is weird, but they aren't too big in the grand scheme of things. They're distracting in the moment, but I think if the rest of it was good, then those small problems wouldn't have bothered me. But overall, I can't say I enjoyed the totality of what we got. I like the small touches, but in having the attention to notice the small touches, I also noticed the small flaws. I can't shut off one but not the other, and some people just have to accept that. And with the small things cancelling each other out, it comes down to the big pluses and big flaws. As far as that goes, there's way more flaws to me. For a battle called Jason vs. Michael, it's really annoying that the screen time between Jason, Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Joe Victim is spread out like this. And if you include the long ending after Michael died, the totality of time they spend actually fighting is only 1 minute, and 16 seconds of that is just Jason walking away after it's over. If you consider the fight to only be the scenes of them fighting and not all the death stuff, that death stuff just being Jason walking away, I'm still including him smashing Michael's head on the tombstone, there's only about 45 seconds of fighting. For context, the shortest episode in Death Battle history is Zitz vs. Leonardo, and from start to KO that animation was 1 minute and 7 seconds. The shortest Death Battle animation in general is Yoshi vs. Riptor, which from start to KO is roughly 50 seconds long. And Deadpool vs. The Mask, which is the animation that to my memory goes the furthest off the beaten path from the fight before returning to it, not counting Deadpool vs. Pinkie Pie where they intentionally stop fighting, has Deadpool and the Mask fighting for a combined 1 minute and 10 seconds across its runtime, which is not including anything past Deadpool's body getting shredded. Sure, the action we got wasn't very good, but to me, bad action between the two is better than a lot of nothing without them. Now, people generally want to see randos dying in the fight, yes, but I think the animation misunderstands why people wanted it. People wanted it because it would add something to the fight, not because the fight would add something to it. A lot of this fight feels like a waste. I feel almost like I'm watching the 2014 Godzilla film, just waiting for the stuff I came to see, though that movie was far less excusable, because that one had time to make this guy into a character and chose not to. Death Battle is just a 3-minute long animation that was never going to make me care about Joe. I also don't think the atmosphere was captured particularly well. The SFM animation just does not feel right for it a lot of the time, and I just wasn't engaged. Now, I of course could now spend time complaining about what I wanted to see that I didn't get. Yes, I would have liked Jason losing his mask. Yes, I would have liked if it ended in a burning house or something on fire. Yes, I would have liked the proper Michael Myers head tilt. Yes, I would have liked more improvisation of unorthodox elements of the environment to fight. Yes, 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 yes. But what I would have liked more in general, beyond anything specific, was Jason Voorhees versus Michael Myers. Because I don't feel like I got that. I feel like I got something that was trying something else that just didn't work, and I appreciate the attempt. More or less, I appreciate the idea of having the two chasing a victim. But I think that would have worked better if we actually got to see the two duking it out properly, slowly, and more methodically. Show off Michael's precision better, have him hammer into Jason's weak points. Show off Jason's brute strength by having him pull out some insane shit like throttling Michael away. But I admit, some of that might be problematic because of their analysis. See, in the conclusion, they decide to put them as equal in all stats, which is something they can only do because they gave 0 feats of strength and 0 feats of speed, and they just vaguely compare the two with visually very different explosions. To me personally, if I had no context, I would assume Michael's was actually better, because like it looks more impressive to me, but I also know the context that the explosion happens several floors below Michael, so I would have preferred if they at least compared some feats to show that maybe Jason was a bit stronger, or Michael was a bit faster, but in the long run, it wasn't enough of a difference to matter, and obviously the two were comparably durable. Do a calc, please, I would have appreciated that. Make a point that if this was purely a stat game, the chances of either hitting the other enough to get through their insane durability was about equal. I know some people like adverse to calcs, 1 or 2 calcs is not going to kill anyone. And more or less with the right calcs, you can argue that the two are very similar in stats. It would have been better to me to show that, and like, see that sort of difference in the animation. And in general, the conclusion was just sort of a bit weak to me. It's only a little over a minute long. They bring up teleportation as a non-factor, which is fine, but then they really just say, well, Michael can be decapitated and Jason can't. See all this on the sidebar? They don't really bring up proper comparisons on any of this in the conclusion. They do not really address Michael's intelligence, at least they don't compare it to anything Jason's done, which I think would have worked. They don't really bring up Jason's ranged weapons, they don't bring up stats in any way that I think are meaningful beyond durability, and they really just say Jason has fought supernatural things and he's got better regen. And I get it, that's all you need to say, but the bare minimum is not what I wanted. I would have liked a bit more to really explain it. Then we get the ending, where Jocelyn vanishes. The Epic Gamer Killer also stole Ringmaster's Nintendo Switch, and then the silhouette of Cameron Campbell shows up. So all in all, yeah, I was disappointed. But even if I didn't have expectations, I don't particularly find this episode that interesting anyway. The story is not very compelling, the atmosphere is lacking, the action is both not very prominent and not very good, and there are only a few particular standout shots and scenes to me. The analysis was good, I really get most of my enjoyment from that. To me, the analysis carries the episode. The animation and conclusion wasn't that great. Next time, however, oh my god, it's Sauron versus the Lich King! This is another of my most wanted episodes, and the only time in Death Battle's history, so far, that 2 of my most wanted matchups happened back to back. Again, Saitama vs Popeye did not mean much to me at the time. It was only during the waiting period that I really awakened to how much I really love both characters. This is the first time I felt the hype this hard. I'm a little stung by how this episode came out, but that's the exception and not the rule to my favourite matchup episodes and to the season as a whole. I'm confident Sauron vs Lich King will bang, and for the first time in the season, I don't really know who will win, or at least, I don't have a solid concrete idea on who will win. Every episode I've either correctly guessed the winner, or I was confident in a winner and just got it wrong. This is the first time I'm completely stumped. It really depends on what they buy for both Middle-earth and Warcraft. That being said, these are not Lord of the Rings and World of Warcraft characters, actually, they're from the franchises Middle-earth and Warcraft, and their original appearances were The Hobbit and the Warcraft Blood and Honor novel. I get that these are the most famous properties, and you have to specify this with Sauron because nobody knows who it is, but grr, I'm so mad about this! And with that, we get to the end of another review. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I didn't come off like too unnecessarily like upset with the episode. It's definitely still got pluses to me, right? There's just certain things that I would have done differently. I hope it made it clear. Yeah, I've got nothing but respect and love for Death Battle. Not at all hating, and I know that there are plenty of people who there are people who like support me because they think I hate Death Battle, which is weird because I feel like you gotta really misinterpret or want to interpret what I say as hateful towards Death Battle. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. You can tell me what you think down below. I know there are plenty of people who like the episode. I already know why you'd like the episode. I understand, because like if what didn't work for me worked for you, of course you'll enjoy it. Like that's completely fine. Like obviously everyone's allowed to like and dislike what they want to like and dislike, as long as they're not a massive raving asshole about it. And if you want, you can go support me on Patreon, which will be linked down below. You can see all my amazing patrons right now scrolling past. Thank you, all of you, for your support. You are amazing. And yeah, if you guys support my Patreon, you'll be able to get access to my Patreon-only Discord, and also to see the full-length versions of the Nemesis Board Rank videos, which are the videos that nobody apparently watches, where I play a board game with my fellas, and we have a lot of fun. Also bloopers, probably, for at least some of the Season 9 How It Should Have Been that have not had their bloopers put up yet. They'll probably be coming out sometime soon. With that being said, now I'm going to do the thing where I read out what people want me to say from the Discord, which I hopefully will not regret this time, because I've been having a good few days. I am Nemesis Bloodlight. I hate Death Battle, and I love Ruby. I am the purple guy. I can't sing that. You don't want me to sing. I am the one who pissy S. I don't even know why. It's like the same thing you already told me to say. The English is so broken, I want to see just how it sounds. Hello, I'm James A. Janice. Welcome to the Kill Count, where I tally up all the kills of your favorite horror movies. I was going for an impression, and then I had a brain fart in the middle of it, lost it, and just kept going. I don't know why I just kept going, but you're going to have to deal with that. You want me not only to sing, but to sing in fucking Latin? Okay. Estas terias ira vehementi, estas interias ira vehementi, Sephiroth. There you go, that's all you're gonna get, and it was fucking awful. Why is everyone wanting to turn this one into a fucking musical? Nice hat, dork. You look like a duck. I had Alfred read your books. You told me they suck. I'll crush your British nuts until they're bangers and mash. I've seen better detective work in Tango and Cash. You chump. I kick punks like you off the streets, while you and Velma here are solving Scooby-Doo mysteries. That fucking Free Guy reference. Catchphrase.
Megatron has fallen! I, Starscream, I'm now your leader! Decepticons, follow me!
Hi, Michael. It's me, the devil. I love you. I don't know, fucking, I don't know, big convoy kibble moment? Can I just say, right, Fogel vs. Sector is my Comfort Kini episode. That wasn't even a joke. Bye, guys. Hope you had a good one. I hope you have a good one. I hope you have a good everything. Yeah. Let's go with that. Alright, bye. Fuck off.
Stop posting about Among Us! I'm tired of seeing it! That's a bit sussy. I looked at my penis, I think of the astronaut's helmet, and I go, penis? More like peen sus! Ah!